Your government doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
We hope it's going to happen, and we're looking forward to happening sometime next week. We want to get our hostages back. We want to get the hostages. Terrible. He's a communist. The last thing we need is a communist. I said there will never be socialism in the United States. Now we have a communist. I think he's bad news, and I think I'm going to have a lot of fun with him, watching him, because he has to come right to this building to get his money. And don't worry, he's not going to run away with anything. I think he's, frankly, I've heard he's a total nut job. I think the people of New York are crazy. If they go this route, I think they're crazy. We will have a communist for the first time, really, a pure, true communist. He wants to operate the grocery stores, the department stores. What about the people that are there? I think it's crazy. A lot of hostages back, but we're going to talk about guys. I don't know. I think we'll have to take a look. We might have to put Doge on Elon. You know what Doge is? Doge is the monster that might have to go back and eat Elon. Wouldn't that be terrible? He gets a lot of subsidies, Peter. But Elon's very upset that the EV mandate is going to be terminated. And you know what? When you look at it, not everybody wants an electric car. I don't want an electric car. I want to have maybe gasoline, maybe electric, maybe a hybrid, maybe someday a hydrogen. If you have a hydrogen car, it has one problem. It blows up, So I'm going to give that one to Peter. I'm going to let Peter test it out.
В результаті ми втратили десятки мільярдів гривень на абсолютно непотрібні споруди, які наші війська не використовували і не використовують зараз. Це абсурд. Оце до розмови. А чи вистачить у нас ресурсів і людей? Чи є в Україні гроші? Ну от я вам хочу сказати, ми на ці оборонні споруди витратили так за роки війни, я вам зараз скажу мінімальну цифру, десь 30-35 мільярдів гривень. Так, під мільярд доларів. Да, просто розрили поля екскаваторами і практично з мінімальною ефективністю. Дай Бог, щоб 1% тих споруд використовувався військами.
Finish here with Brant Frost, by the way, is also the chairman of Coweta County, Georgia, and one of the principals of First Liberty GA. Go to firstlibertyga.com. They're in the commercial lending business, but they have a new program now. Minimum of a $25,000 investment, you can get up to a 13% return. Now you have to be an accredited investor, and they have done this for a long time, making a lot of people money, but they've done it privately. Now we've urged them to open this up to those that participate in the Patriot economy. Brant, in about 2 minutes, sum up what this program is. If I've got $25,000 and I'm an accredited investor and I invested in your bridge loan company, part of the Patriot economy, I can get up to 13%. Just explain that quickly.
Excited to offer this now to your listeners and viewers and to the folks in the Patriot economy. We're advertising this now across the country. It's very simple. For years, we have been funding this program in-house with our own money and some friends and family, but now we're offering this to our fellow patriots. If you want to make a very good return on your money, and if you want to participate in the Patriot economy and get Wall Street returns for Main Street investors, we would love to talk with you. Go to firstlibertyga.com. Just take a look at it. Give us a call. fill out the little form, and we'll reach out to you and we'll explain exactly the criteria. There is some criteria. This is this is not like a treasury or, a government thing. There is some requirements. Obviously, there is some risk too. But we've got over a decade of experience doing these programs, doing these loans, over $100 million in loans we've made. And we have some great testimonials on the website from some folks who've been with us for a long, long time. It's one of the great pleasures and honors in our business to be able to help patriots across the country. We've got retired teachers, we've got retired businessmen, we've got retired ministers who have been part of this program, as well as doctors, lawyers, everyone else you can imagine. We would love to have you as part of that. Go to firstlibertyga.com, take a look at it, see if it's a good fit for you. For as little as $25,000, you can join us. You do have to be an accredited investor, and go to the website and find out more about that. We would love to have y'all join with us. This is how we grow the patriot economy. You've seen this all across the country. New companies starting up, new firms starting up. We're a 30-year-old firm, but this is the first time we're offering this option to the public. Up until now, it's been, we kept it close to the vest, but now we'd like to share in these opportunities with all of our patriot brothers and sisters across the country. Go to firstlibertyga.com, see if we can help you earn up to 13% a year on your money.
Brant Frost, thank you. We love expanding the patriot economy. Commercial loans, now we're in investing, we're in tires, you name it, we're in it. This is how we grow, this is how we fund our movement, and this is how we help out America First, MAGA Patriots. Thank you. FirstLibertyGA.com. Thank you, Brant Frost, for that opportunity.
Welcome to the SCIF. Appreciate you joining us today. Wow. This is a crazy, crazy, crazy morning and crazy 24 hours. Georgia is blowing up. We've got the guy to talk about that, Brian K. Pritchard. Pritchard the Magnificent, the fortune teller, will be here shortly. We're going to delve into what just happened in Georgia, because I don't think everybody even knows yet, but it's big. Also, the Trusted News Initiative case. DOJ jumped in and joined us on that case yesterday, fighting the Trusted News Initiative. Another huge, huge, huge development. And wow, I don't even know what to say about that, but we're going to talk about it today. I'm supposed to get the general counsel for Children's Health Defense on with us today. If that doesn't happen today, it'll be tomorrow. We've got the Ukraine SitRep second hour with Pete Blaber. That one is looking a little iffy too. Pete is traveling, but we're going to try to get him in. If not, we'll have a treat for you in the second hour. But wow, I want to say hello to the crew. Thanks for joining us in the chat. Really appreciate it. You're cleared hot. Love all the engagement. It's getting bigger and bigger, and we love that. And I also want you to go to whatfinger.com and put them in your daily scan after cdm.press, of course. But if you want a great news aggregator, whatfinger.com, Whatfinger News is fantastic. Just brings a lot of truth that you won't get anywhere else. That's simply the fact. So with that, I'm your host, L Todd Wood. Today is July 1st. We got July 4th coming up, the real No Kings Day. But here's your mission brief. Elon Musk, is he going to start the Porky Pig party? He's threatening, and Trump is fighting back. We're going to talk about that. Russia takes all of Luhansk in Donbass. Well, I've been to Donbass. I've spent time in Luhansk. It's very interesting developments there. What is the Matrix going to do to fight back in Ukraine? Will Trump join them? It's another big question. The T&I lawsuit, I want to jump into that and tell you the history and where it is now. Israel is promoting monarchy in Iran. You saw that in the cold open. They put out an AI video of Bibi and other Israeli officials strolling down the avenue in Tehran. They want the Shah back, or at least his son. Is that good or bad? Stay with us. We'll find out. and Georgia's first liberty seized. There is so much behind that I want to get into, and we've got the man himself coming to talk about that. But first, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Stay with us on the SCIF.
This is a special report.
Knowing how to invest your money is harder than ever before. Dealing with stock market volatility, record debt, and terrorist attacks requires new thinking. At U.S. Asset Management, we can help you see the world more clearly so that you can move beyond the chaos and invest with confidence. Call us, visit us online, or drop by our office. U.S. Asset Management, helping you make better decisions with your money.
Pandemic, we can never be caught unprepared again. And so many Americans, when COVID hit, they had nothing in the house. Stores were shut down and doctors' offices were shut down. And even if doctors prescribed drugs, hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, pharmacists wouldn't fill the prescriptions. That was a nightmare.
Now the situation is much worse. We have these horrible supply chain problems. In our emergency medical kit at the Wellness Company, we have 8 prescription drugs that are all potentially life-saving.
Most people who died with COVID, they died in the hospital because they didn't receive early treatment.
Every American family should have one of these.
I can tell you the Wellness Company kit is the answer.
So we are in the factory in Kentucky. This is Alp World HQ, and we are at the end of the packing line. So I'm going to show you how it works. We have a card, throw it in there. There's a packing slip, and then you have the Alp. And 4, but that seems honestly like a lot. 3 now, but it's good. You just pack a punch that, for a normal nicotine brand, it'd be like 8. We think 3 is fine. Next one. Again, 4. Let's throw 3 in just to keep it fair. Okay? There you go. So you can see you can get fast at this. And really, it's just a matter of repetition. This is kind of the assembly line that, Henry Ford devised so long ago.
Tucker, stealing all the applicants.
Welcome back to the SCIF. We had Brian K. Pritchard on last week, and he's been helping us out with the Georgia show while Bill Quinn had his Neuralink reprogrammed. Bill's back, but BKP has been really accurate on what's coming in Georgia. I mean, really, and then boom, we had it yesterday. So I'm going to bring BKP in here. Hold on a second. Actually, that was the wrong video. Let me bring in Brian. How you doing, Brian? Brian the Pritchard the Magnificent. How you doing?
You know how dated that is, Todd. That is dated.
I know.
Karnak, I mean, why didn't you tell me? I would have had the envelope and everything, and I would have did the may a yak defrost Georgia.
Oh, I just couldn't help it, man. I was just thinking Brian's been spot on all this, but thank you for joining us on vacation. He's coming to us on vacation, so I appreciate you carving out some time. But what the hell is going on in Georgia, Brian?
Well, first of all, I appreciate all the messages from everybody saying, man, you picked one heck of a time to go on vacation. It'll all be there Monday, but we appreciate CDM Media and your work. Todd, for those out there that don't know, the Frost family, and we talk about the Frost family in Georgia because from Brant Frost the fourth, the dad, to Brant Frost the fifth, the mother Krista Frost, the daughter Katie Frost, and even the younger ones in the family, they all participate at the conventions. They are so tied to Georgia politics. They were tied to the GRA up to a couple weeks ago. So if you're in Georgia, first, I don't know how many in the family actually work within First Liberty, the business itself. I do know Brant the Fifth, that most of us know. He is highly involved in the business. But in Georgia, we know them as the Frost family. Now, they are First Liberty. I guess I wasn't there, but and others that I've spoke to say when you're running a financial organization like that, an investment firm, and what all they did, the Fed comes in and shuts it down. I mean, locked down. So I'm not for sure what took place, but as of Friday, they ceased business. They're under federal investigation. And as you well know, the statement that's on their website, that is written from the feds. You don't get to say anything else. That's it. You put that statement up, you can operate no longer. Todd, this is going to tie back to the Georgia GOP. We have been for a long time, yourself and others, working. And I want to thank Bill Quinn. He gets a lot of information that I'm able to put out. Working with you guys, but this is going to tie back to the Georgia GOP, and we will see that development because, folks, I know you don't like the AJC. I get it. We don't like the AJC, but we have been waiting for a long time for someone like the AJC to say, wait a minute, the Georgia GOP, Brant Frost, the Frost family, we need to look into this, and they've just been covering it up. Todd, I can report this morning that Greg Bluestein at the AJC is contacting people for statements. Okay.
Yeah.
I could share. I've been contacted. Now, I did send a statement, and I'm going to share a little bit with you. I told him in a statement, I don't know what will make the article. I said, I hope the investigation into First Liberty, it doesn't stop there. I have called for a full financial, as the former first vice chair of the Georgia Republican Party, I've called for a full financial investigation into the Georgia GOP Inc. Todd, we're hearing stories of politicians already out six figures. I think that when this is done, I don't know how long this takes. But as this progresses, we'll probably see several politicians involved. I know folks out there listening like, well, this is a lot of information. It could be convoluted. We'll continue to break it down. And I know Bill Quinn has it broken down. I've been talking with him. Mm-hmm. The Frost family controls the GRA PAC. Now, there's a difference. There's a GRA and there's the GRA PAC. Okay? They control the GRA PAC. Wow, this is really spinning, Todd.
Well, wow is right. I mean, because the timing is in I want to talk about the timing. We just had the convention. It was corrupt. Everybody knows that. At least people that want, at least intelligent, intellectually honest people, critically thinking people will say it was corrupt. I mean, that's just, you can't avoid that. So weeks later, we have this before the 26th election. The GOP's in shambles. Nobody trusts them. Nobody wants to give them money. It's tyrannical. They're keeping the grassroots out, like yourself. They kicked you out of the party. What about the timing here? What does that tell you?
Well, I've said it all too often, and I know you know it. There's no such thing as a coincidence in politics. Mm-hmm. So if you take the last 30 days, what has taken place? We had the Georgia GOP Inc. convention that's for state officers. We all know it was rigged. Now, I don't know if David won, but I'll tell you what I don't know for sure. I don't know that Josh won. You know what I'm saying? We had a rigged election, rigged convention where the delegates really did not get a chance to participate. And here's the thing in that. Well, what's that got to do with anything? Well, Katie Frost is the 3rd district chair, a member of the executive committee. She was the chair of the nominating committee. All right. Brant Frost and at that time GRA members under his control, the same people that just got shut down under his control, controlled the flow of the microphones. And let's not forget, this is going to be very interesting. Mike Crane chaired the convention. It'll be interesting to see. Now, I don't know, so I'm going to leave that question mark out there. It'll be interesting to see if the individual who chaired the Georgia GOP convention, Mike Crane, is going to be tied in some kind of way with First Liberty. And I put that question mark because I will tell you this, the Crane children grew up, the Frost children basically grew up going in and out of the front door of Mike Crane's house. They're very, very close friends. So, how far this explosion reaches out. Now, I have sent messages, and I've also asked the AJC. I said, could you ask Chairman McCune if he will be asking for resignations? Katie Frost is chair of the 3rd District Executive Committee. The mother, Krista Frost, is on the state committee. Brant Frost is on the state committee. So we're waiting to see if the chairman, Josh McCune, will put out any kind of statement. And if he's involved in any way, or when I say involved, I want to be careful with that, if he has any financial ties.
Yeah. Because a lot of, that's an open, honest question, because we don't know who's involved and who put money into this, right? Because that client list is just not out there. But there's two possibilities I see, BKP. Either this was a setup by the GOP leadership to destroy the Republican Party into the 26th election, or it's the White Hats coming out and taking this down before the 26th election. What do you think?
Well, you know what, that is a great thing that we're looking at now. When I say the White Hats, I agree with you, because there's several, and I don't want to start putting out names, and I'm not taking credit. I'm working with a lot of people, so I appreciate the kind words. But I was on the phone last night with a guy who was one of the sergeant of arms at the convention. He calls me last night, and he's telling me about the sergeant of arms meeting, Todd, that they told them and instructed them that how to hand out the clickers, how to hand them out at the convention. They never intended to use paper ballots, things like that. So there's a lot of white hats. I want to give that. I appreciate always the kind words and being able to be the one to deliver. But the white hats are enormous around Georgia. Your viewers need to know, because you have an international audience, that we're not taking this sitting down in Georgia. We're not. There is a fight. Now, that is an answer. Are the white hats doing this? There's no coincidence that there's no such thing as unifying in Georgia. There's been nothing to show that the Georgia GOP is attempting to unify. It's almost like if you take everything that's happened in the last month and lay it out on the table, it looks like a path to hand the Democrats 2026 in Georgia. It's really disturbing to the grassroots, much like myself, that we don't want to do that. But all these things that are taking place right now is almost like a gift to the Democrats for 2026 here in Georgia.
Well, that's the whole point. So, we're a year, 18 months out, if that, to the election. You're talking, there's a lot of work to be done, my man. The party is controlled by people who don't want the grassroots in. The grassroots do all the work. The grassroots want to vote. And now, we have this, the AJC is going to run with it. It could be a vehicle, this could be time to put Stacey Abrams in the governorship,
Well, I don't think it'll be Stacey Abrams, but a Democrat is well on its way. And I'll say this, as soon as I kept telling everybody, look, as soon as the GOP convention's over and Josh is installed back in place, you're going to start seeing a turn of the AJC, and they're going to start turning against the GOP. Todd, in the last 3 weeks, the AJC every week, 1 or 2 a week, they're making a turn on attacking Republicans in Georgia, where it's just 3 weeks ago they basically were endorsing Josh and right on board. So we're seeing that turn now. The AJC's been waiting for this for quite some time. Let me say something else here, because I don't want to forget this. It's disappointing. Now, you and I both are in business and we have advertisers, but I have a policy on my program not to allow, I need advertisers, much like you, all right? But I will not put on my program any product or personally promote it, if I know there's a problem. And I'm going to say,
of course, we're the same way. We trust and we vet,
right?
And we want our viewers to have a great experience, right? I mean, that's
but in Georgia the Frost family, and I get back to this as your viewers follow this, and we'll be on it all week. I know you will. The Georgia Record will be on it. But as you follow this, it's like John Fredericks. It's not like they buy an ad in an ad spot, when he goes to commercial break and he doesn't know who the ad is for. He actually personally highlights this product and he talks about the investment. And Todd, I'm not an investment banker or I don't have a firm like David Cross. David does great work. But when you're listening to somebody saying they're returning 13% on your money, Eric Erickson in Georgia brags about this fund, and they even have Charlie Kirk advertising with Charlie Kirk at Turning Point. So it's going to be interesting. But what's very upsetting to me personally is when I see people maybe that watch this programming and trust these people and have invested in this fund.
Well, it's horrific. But we had the Fredericks clip in the cold open, and talking about the Patriot economy, and we're going to grow the movement and all of that crap. I mean, and by the way, just to be fair, I reached out to John Fredericks yesterday and asked for comment, and he said he didn't know enough about it and didn't have any information to say at that point. So,
I wasn't quite that nice when I reached out.
Did you get a little sporty with Mr. Fredericks there, BK?
Well, I asked him two things. I asked him if there was any losses in his future that he was unaware of. I said, hey, I love John. John knows it's a love-hate relationship. We have it. Sure. And I asked him if I could be on the show Wednesday. I'd love to discuss it. I asked for a spot. Hey, John, put me on Wednesday.
What'd he say?
Well, he hasn't. I want to be on with Debbie Dooley and Sally Grubbs.
Oh my! Oh my! I can see an AI video of you like busting through the barricade in front of the microphone, to something like that.
Well, here's the thing, Todd, and this is not. I never want to turn this around to be about anything that took place with me. But, I listened to the Eric Erickson clip this morning, and he's going on and he's saying, well, this is a great conservative family and they're Christians and I've known them for a long time and they're just people you can trust. Send them your money. But when I got elected first vice chair of the Georgia Republican Party, Eric Erickson goes on his radio show the next day and says, oh, the lunatics are taking over the party.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, karma's a bitch, so it'll come its way full circle. What else do people need to know about BKP as far as this is concerned?
Well, first of all, watch it develop because the feds are very quiet. There'll be a statement. We're watching for that soon, what the statement is. So we're not for sure. And I would watch in the next couple of days because as they say, rats start fleeing a sinking ship. So look for politicians. I'm not encouraging to read the AJC article, but I understand the AJC has their business department. They got a business department, and they're actually investigating that side of it. But politically, you might get a couple politicians speak to them to start coming. This is going to have legs, and it's going to last for a while. We want to see how it ties back to the Georgia GOP. And seriously, we're not implying they have money invested, but the Frost family is so intertwined with Josh McCoon himself and the Georgia GOP. The first vice chair of the Georgia GOP, currently now Sally Grubbs, thinks the sun rises and sets in the Frost family. So we're going to see a lot of things develop. So keep your eye open. Todd, I said this morning, I put it out on X. I am not finding any joy in anybody's misfortune. I do not do that, and it's not my place to do that. But I can't lie and say I'm not smiling from ear to ear.
Well, they came after you, and that's a natural reaction. That's just a natural reaction. I mean, yeah. So, and yeah, we can go into that. There's a lot of reporting on the Georgia Record about all that. Let me ask you another question. Go ahead.
Don't let me lose this. Don't let me lose this. Folks, watch for dark money to have a light shine on it. We are working very, very hard. CDM, myself, Bill, we're working very hard. And I really think with what has happened with First Liberty and what developments may come of the Frost family, you could see, I don't want to make a prediction, but very soon light shining on dark money. And when we talk about the dark money, there's people out there that run attacks. They live to attack people and try to tear people down. And we feel there's dark money behind that. Watch for that to shine a light on that.
Well, you can make predictions all day long here, BKP. You're Pritchard the Magnificent. You've been pretty good at it so far. So let me ask you another more international question. Musk is out there, dueling with Trump this morning. I don't know if you saw it since you're on vacation, but Trump's talking about deporting him. Musk is talking about a new Porky Pig party or whatever, and now Musk is going after Bannon. What do you think of all this? Have you looked at that?
Yeah, I've looked at every tweet. I read every tweet he puts out. I read everyone Bannon has put out, and and the spin. I mean, the spin of what's going on from everyone, from Tucker, Bannon, Candace Owen, Alex Jones. The list goes on and on. And now Elon back on top of this bill. I don't know what Trump's going to do with him. He's the richest man in the world. End of story. Yeah. And when you hear, and let me say this to your audience, folks, when you hear Trump, which I support my president. When you hear we may need to doge Elon, let me tell you something. Satellite, our drone system and the satellite systems and the space system and things like that, Elon Musk is pretty well in the fabric of the government.
Yeah.
To where you're just not going to wake up tomorrow and say, well, we're going to get rid of Elon Musk. Not going to happen. Okay.
Yeah, I think the tweet or the Truth Social Trump put out, the wording, I think it was a little unfortunate because he said no more rocket launches. And I'm like, so we're not going to have any more rocket launches.
Right. So,
he meant Musk, but the wording was a little odd.
But, he said the American party, doesn't that have a good ring to it? So I don't know what he's going to do. And he said this. Now, Elon said anyone that campaigned to cut government spending, he will, and I think the quote, I don't have it in front of me, if it's the last thing he does on earth or his last breath or something to that reference, he will do everything to primary them and get them out of office. So I think 2026 is going to be a little upside down. I don't know where all that lands right now. But, Todd, here's what's tough, okay? All right. For years, I'm a fiscal conservative. I fought for years an omnibus bill. I fought it. I've asked for 12 appropriations bills long before Trump became president. I want 12 appropriations bills. I don't want an omnibus bills. I want no more CRs. I want no more earmarks on bills. Okay. All the above. And folks, you have to come to the reality, and I'm not knocking this or knocking President Trump, but this morning, you can market it and call it one big beautiful bill and put a name on it to sell it on TV, but it's an omnibus bill. Okay? So come to the reality that they're getting ready to pass an omnibus. And if you were against it 10 years ago, 5 years ago, or 3 years ago, I'm having a hard time cheering for the bill. Now, I'm not going to be mad if it passes, but I'm having a hard time cheering for this. And I'm not getting out of there and saying, wow, this is great. One big, beautiful bill.
No, I'm not either. And Trump will say, just to play devil's advocate, that he doesn't have really control of the Congress and he's slim margins and he's got to spend money to get people to vote for it. I mean, that's an argument, but
yeah, but now, Todd, you knew when this went from the House, the Senate was going to strip this stuff out. You knew that.
Yeah, of course.
You and I knew that. Okay. And I try to tell my audience every day, quit getting overexcited about all these cuts. They're going to come out. All right.
Yeah.
And then on top of this, the parliamentarian, and I'm not backing this parliamentarian that Harry Reid put in place, but John Thune could step up in the next hour and have a vote and 51-49, remove the parliamentarian and put a new one in. So I don't want to hear any of that. That John Thune, they decided they're not going to do that. The parliamentarian is to pull out, whether you agree or not, anything that is erroneous and is not germane to a budget. That's supposed to be their job, not taken up for no parliamentarian.
Yeah.
And one more thing did you see yesterday where they said, they're talking about now they're putting back money for illegal children to have Medicaid?
Yeah, I saw that.
Todd, I like the facts when I talk to anyone. I'm a fiscal conservative, and I think it was 88 or 82. I don't have it in front of me, but is it the Pyle decision with the Supreme Court? I think it's 1988 or whatever. The Supreme Court said undocumented children will go to school. All right.
Yeah.
That's the Supreme Court. You can go look that up today, folks. The Supreme Court ruled, I think it was 1988. Google it. You'll find it, that undocumented children have to go to school. Now, I hate to break this, and I'm a conservative and I don't agree with this, but if you put them in school, if they're hungry, you're going to feed them. If they don't have health care, you're going to take them to the doctor. If they don't have somewhere to sleep, you're going to give them shelter. You can be mad all day long, but until we get that fixed, that's what they're going to do. Do you see where I'm going, Todd?
Well, the blame lies with the people who didn't rise up and stop this invasion. I mean,
exactly. Thank you.
Yeah, and that we're on the golf course or not wanting to believe what was going on or voted for Biden or any of that. I mean,
exactly. That's what I'm saying. I mean, I don't agree with that, but folks, hey, listen, if you're going to pick the guy up at the gas station because he's illegal and he's putting gas in his pump and he's going to work and he is illegal and you're going to tell me he broke the law and we got to get him out of here. Okay. But last I looked, treason is a little bit of a problem also.
Exactly. Selective outrage, unfortunately, from a lot of our, and you see that in the Georgia GOP. I mean, they're talking about the illegals, but then, we've got a governor who essentially lied to the public and said he was going to stop illegal immigration and didn't, and enabled it for his corporate buddies, at the Hyundai plants and all that stuff.
Exactly. So if Trump gets the bill passed and it gets on his desk on July 4th and they have a big celebration and Elon Musk funds a lot of competitors in primaries.
Well, that's healthy, in my opinion. I mean, lets people have some competition. I'm not promoting the Porky Pig Party, but I'm a Republican, but I just think people who are not doing what is right should have some fear of at least a primary, in my opinion.
Well, Todd, look at it like this. Mm-hmm. You can't go yesterday and say that this is the uniparty. And then when Elon Musk tweets out, it's the uniparty, be mad at Elon Musk. Now, I'm not, like I say, when I say neutral, I'm not a neutral kind of guy, but at the same time, I'm not taking up for Elon Musk. But At the same time, if the guy goes on and tweets out, hey, the uniparty, there's no difference, and we're whistling past the cemetery, and we're 37 trillion in debt, and we're going to go bankrupt, I'm like, okay, I said that 3 weeks ago. I said that 4 weeks ago. So where is he wrong?
Yeah. I wrote a book about that 11 years ago or 13 years ago. But let me ask you, and by the way, the hypocrisy of the leadership of the Georgia GOP to me is off the charts. I mean, as you say, talking about we're going to fight for Trump, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, looking the other way is how many illegals did they arrest at that plant raid? Like 700 or some crap like that.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So don't give me that crap, guys. You're lying. One more question. The future in 26. What does it look like? We've got Ossoff with Chris Gleason, one of our investigators, is showing, literally massive amounts of smurfing and money laundering into that campaign. We're talking millions of dollars. Where does this go for the Senate race?
Well, Senate race right now, the Republicans don't have an attractive name, voice, energy at the top of the ticket. There is Vince Dooley's son, that his name is getting floated out there. John King, the insurance commissioner, nice guy, but his energy level or his and he's not a very enthusiastic candidate. Georgia is still waiting for someone at the top of the Republican side of the ticket that's going to take this ball and run with it and not turn back. I still think now for your audience here, when you see Ossoff smurfing, and Chris Gleason does a great job. I'm glad you guys work with Chris. He does a great job with dark money and how it's coming into these campaigns. Mike Collins in the 10th district. So for your audience, hang on for 2 weeks. Okay, we're going to have 4th of July. Todd, not to shift gears, but it's all going to come together because you still have MTG making comments like she could run for governor. All right, there was another article this week. She made some comments to Tucker. So in Georgia, we're still waiting for the total landscape to fall. Is MTG going to put her hat in for governor? Is Mike Collins in the 10th district? Now, right now, Mike Collins is a very exciting candidate. He could talk to a group, the congressman in the 10th district. He could fire a group up. He can drive his rig if he needs to. He can drive his Harley. He's a pretty energetic candidate, and he could bring the energy to Georgia that it needs. So there's a lot of talk that Mike's going to get into the race. But here, for your audience, sadly, here's where we're at in Georgia. They're trying to find a candidate right now that Kemp and Trump will support. And I personally, I can't stand that being in Georgia. I would like for it to be a candidate that is MAGA, America first, Georgia first, period. Not waiting to see who likes them. But we are looking for a candidate right now that Kemp and Trump will support. So the Senate race in the next 2 weeks, what I'm telling you to look at is, will MTG come out? Will Mike Collins come out? Will Tyler Harper, the ag commissioner? Now, there was a report that there was a meeting at Tyler Harper's family farm in South Georgia. I think the Harper family is the largest farmers in the state of Georgia, big money people. And Tyler Harper is a likable guy. He's been to D.C. He's met with John Thune. He's met with Tim Scott. It's like a wild card out there, but he's still out there as the ag commissioner. So as these people announce what slots are going to fill underneath, because we got 4 or 5 candidates now in the LT race, lieutenant governor.
Yeah. Well, that begs one more question. What is this frosting going to do to the leadership of the Georgia GOP from the top on down to the county level? Any changes that you see?
Yeah, I do see changes at the county level because the district, let's go with the 3rd district. The 3rd district of Georgia, all right, is been controlled. Now, the state party, the Georgia GOP Inc., the Frost family has enormous control over that. my words. So they're my words. When we say buy a politician or control a politician, the Frost family has been able to control politics all across the state financially. But the third district of Georgia, down there where they're at, Coweta County, Brant Frost is the GOP chair. He should resign. Katie Frost is the third district chair. The mother is a state committee member, which all three of them are state committee members. This will shake up because you have people tied to them all across the state. The first vice chair of the Georgia Republican Party, Sally Grubbs, is tied to them. I'm not at liberty to say some things, that she may have a close relationship with the family. All across the state. I mean, the entire state. This is going to have a ripple effect. If the Georgia GOP Inc. and Josh McCoon are not tied in a way that's going to be troubling, and they will immediately end their relationship, clean it up, pull it off like a Band-Aid, and try to move on, would be the best way they can handle that, unless it starts festering up with some people across the state.
Well, I wonder if this will impact any of the challenges to the convention. I mean, they're going to try to prevent that, of course, but it's
no.
interesting.
The convention. I sadly report the convention's over. Michael Whatley does not care. I'm going to throw you a long shot. You want a long shot today? Michael Whatley absolutely does not care. Josh McCoon does not care. They move on, move forward. It's no skin off their back. Now, I'm talking with somebody up in North Carolina that actually knows the North Carolina GOP very well. Have you heard the long shot that Michael Whatley might be stepping up for that North Carolina Senate seat?
No. I mean,
okay.
I'm not a fan of Whatley. I think he's not.
Did I ask you if you were a fan?
No, you didn't, but go ahead.
I'm not a fan of Michael Whatley's. I wasn't looking for a fan. No, all right. So it's just been a little bit of a rumor, and I want to say it that way, but that's what politics is and how you have to actually keep an eye on it. Josh McCoon is too close. There's too many things in the FEC filing. If you go to the Georgia GOP Inc. and you look at the FEC filing, it seems like every time you turn around, he's using the Georgia GOP credit card out in Arizona. Okay?
Yeah.
And we know who's out there, Charlie Kirk and Turning Point, which I call them the Charlie's kids. And Georgia's got Charlie's kids roaming all around the state. They're all over the state of Georgia. So
I ran into some of them. Well, go ahead. Yeah.
Josh is very tied to that organization for some reason out there. And then also he is very close to Michael Whatley, because when Michael Whatley ran for GOP chair, Josh McCoon gave an endorsement speech on his behalf for Michael Whatley, very close. Let me put one marker in Vegas on if Whatley stepped up, if he stepped up and ran for Senate in North Carolina, that Josh McCoon doesn't attempt to be the RNC chair.
Wow.
That made things interesting, right?
It sure did. Something to think about. Well, that's a lot, BKP. Thank you very much for coming on. Anything else you want to get out? How do people follow you? When's the show? Where can they find it?
Well, we're on vacation this week. We just shut it down. I mean, we have to, Diane and myself, we have to have one time a year at least that we just shut things down. I am in the great state of Pennsylvania this week with family and friends, and we're going to be celebrating the true, as you said earlier, no King's Day on the 4th of July here. We'll be back Monday morning at 8 a.m., 8 to 10 with BKP Politics, and at 10 a.m. with the Georgia Hour. I appreciate everybody's kind words about vacation. We'll be back Monday morning. voiceofruralamerica.com and Twitter, Voice of Rural America. You can follow me there. Send me messages if things are going on.
And we have it on the front page of the Georgia Record, too. You can watch it live. Brian, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, Todd. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Watching my friends gain more and more weight. And then eventually, I got to tell you, this is a little dark, but bad diet literally killed my whole crew.
Wow.
Diabetes, a stroke. I mean, all kinds of stuff. It's like, you had a stroke? You're not even 50 years old. You guys got to quit eating this stuff. Your body knows what's what. You're not conscious of this. But that's why people will go to the refrigerator and they'll grab this and that and the other and put together this outrageously elaborate combination of foods. Your body's trying to reach balance. Unbeknownst to us, our bodies are always trying to reach homeostasis. You can't eat all of this stuff and expect to live a long time. And one thing led to another, and I went, forget this. We're going to make our own product. So we partnered with one of the world's top 3 biochemists where nutrition specific study is concerned. I said, all I want is the best nutritional and immune support product in the world. So we mixed it in yogurt. It's a powder. I got a bag of it here. I keep one on the console all the time, just so I can show people.
Yeah.
And it's a powder. Now, this is not candy. This is hardcore nutrition. And sugar is an enemy. And most people do not know that the reason these bellies are showing up on people all over the place, your body makes fat to store the toxins it can't get rid of. So it just puts them over here. But I can tell you this, you take this for 30 days and then lay off of it for 2 or 3 days, and you'll go, good grief, give me some more. Skin, nails, hair growing back. Cut yourself and it heals in half the time.
I'm David Cross, and you may know me from my election integrity work, but I also own U.S. Asset Management, an investment advisory practice. I've been an advisor for nearly 30 years, and one of the questions I get asked most frequently is, do I have enough money relative to other people my age? And while that's an interesting question, it's also the wrong question. The right question is do you have enough money to sustain your lifestyle for the rest of your life? This is a question you should know the answer to. This is what we do. Check us out at us-am.com and look for our big proud American Eagle logo.
We have foot, slogging over Africa. Foot, slogging over Africa. Boot, moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the war. 7, 6, 11.
Welcome back to the SCIF. That is Kipling, I believe, his poem about World War I. Boots, slogging over Africa. Fascinating if you listen to the whole thing. Let's get into some stories. Actually, first, let me talk to a few about our sponsors. We talked about Nucleo Boost there in the ad. This is the package. It's empty, but I take this every day. It's in a smoothie or in yogurt or whatever. This is how we keep the stamina up at CDM. This one's empty because we used it all and we keep using it. We're selling a lot of this, and I feel good that we're helping people get healthy and resilient in the face of the matrix. Check out the subscription. It's cheaper, but go to cdmnutrition.com. That is cdmnutrition.com for our audio audience. Check it out. Check out the subscription. You can bring it in monthly. It's a scoop every day. It's got everything you need at the cellular level for your health. It's kind of like filling the potholes so that when the disease comes along, the road is ready to fight the disease. And also it has the bioaloe, which puts it into the cell, which is another ingredient that a lot of these nutraceuticals don't have. So check out Nucleo Boost at cdmnutrition.com. And also my book, Paying the Price, The Untold Story of the Iranian Resistance. We're going to talk about Israel and Iran here in a second. We don't need to go to war with Iran. We don't need a new monarchy. We need the actual Iranian people to take charge. And maybe it's not the MEK, maybe it's some other group, but I'm not a big fan of the monarch, and you're hearing a lot about the Shah. In fact, we can talk about that right now, but you can find the book at historyofbooks.com or anywhere books are sold, and you can get a signed copy at historyofbooks.com. So check it out. And let's go to this, which is our Israeli site. Israeli journalists and government are pushing a monarchy in Iran. This is the son of the Shah. The U.S. took out Mossadegh, who was a democratically elected leader in Iran for the oil with the MI6 of the UK in 1953. The Shah ruled until 70s, which, he was very brutal. It resulted in the population, hated him due to his killing people routinely, torturing people in prison. And then we had the revolution with the mullahs, and it's got him even worse. So the monarchy was the big reason for a lot of this, and we don't want another monarch in Iran. But there's other stories I wanted to dig into. This one, for instance, Russia confirms control of all of Luhansk in East Ukraine, which is one of the oblasts, territories, provinces in the east, along with Donetsk and others, that Russia is looking to take over. It looks like they've completely gained control of Luhansk. That's a big milestone. Wait to see what Trump's going to do in this war, if he's going to keep sending weapons or what. Going to be very interesting. We'll be all over that story for sure. This is, if you go to Georgia Record, georgiarecord.com, this is a story BKP was talking about, or we were talking about together. The First Liberty ceases all business operations and is cooperating with federal authorities. Essentially, the business was seized. You can find that at georgiarecord.com and learn all about everything Georgia at that paper. And then one other story, which we'll talk about. We're going to have, I just got word, we'll have the General Counsel of Children's Health Defense, Bobby Kennedy's nonprofit. The General Counsel will be on with us at 11:30, so in about 30 minutes. And we'll talk about the update of the Trusted News Initiative case, our lawsuit against the Trusted News Initiative, which is a group of tech companies and big journalist entities, BBC, AP, WAPO, Reuters, and others that were suing because they deplatformed us several years ago in what we believe is a monopolistic behavior. And this is an antitrust suit. And the DOJ joined the suit yesterday on our side. So, and filed a statement of interest. And this looks like it may push the case forward and put pressure on the judge to not dismiss it. It's in D.C. It was filed in Louisiana, then moved to New York and D.C., of course. That's where they can control things. But this is huge development on the side of good stuff. So those are all stories you can find on cdm.press right now. We're going to take another break, and we'll be right back, and we're going to have a treat for you. And then at the bottom of the hour, we will have the General Counsel for Children's Health Defense on to talk about this case. Stay with us.
Your government doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
True life Alp story. I got a call from a friend of mine yesterday, honestly, true story, who said his girlfriend had just broken up with him over Alp. He wouldn't stop. And I thought to myself, that's kind of sad. And he said, no, it's not sad. Imagine if I'd married her. Now I know I was saved. Then the next day, this same friend is driving at twice the speed limit through a major American city, pulled over by a cop in a speed trap. Cop takes his license registration, goes back to the patrol car, runs him, comes back, looks in the window, and sees a tin of Alp on the dashboard. Pauses, stunned, says to my friend, you use Alp? Yeah, I do, says my friend. So do I, says the cop. We all do. He looks at my friend thoughtfully and goes, drive safely, sir, and hands back his license and registration. No ticket. So in 2 days, he's saved from a tragic marriage to a girl who doesn't like Alp and a speeding ticket. All true. It's more than a nicotine marriage.
Welcome back to the SCIF. Appreciate you joining us. I want to throw a shout out to MyPillow. Go to mypillow.com. Use promo code CDM. Kids are going back to school soon. Maybe they just graduated, need stuff for their apartment. Maybe you had a wedding. The bride needs stuff for her house. Don't buy it at the big box retailers that hate you. Buy it from Mike at mypillow.com. Use promo code CDM for the best discounts. But outfit your family there. Spend some time on the website. He's got over 600 products. And take a look at what's there to offer and support free media at the same time. What a deal. Support the movement. On vendors we can trust. We're not going to promise you something 13% a year and then have it collapse and you lose all your money. We're just not going to do that. So with that, I want to play. I told you I'd have a treat. We're supposed to have the Ukraine SitRep today, but Pete Blaber just told me he's traveling, so we're not going to have that. We'll reschedule that as soon as possible. But in that vein, we're big on war stories here with veterans, and I sat down with Carl Lippard a while back, who's a Vietnam veteran. Amazing story. We think these stories need to be told, and that's why we're filming them and putting them on the historical record. But I think you'll really enjoy this story with Carl. I'm not sure we'll get through the entire thing. At 11:30, we're going to bring on the General Counsel for Children's Health Defense, but I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you in a few minutes when this is done. Welcome back to War Stories. We are honored to have Carl Lippard with us today. He's a Marine, once a Marine, always a Marine, and welcome to the show, Carl.
Oh, thank you very much. Happy to be here.
So you were in Vietnam. We're going to talk about that for a minute, but tell us about your life. I mean, what's been your experiences to this point?
That's probably a loaded question. I think we'd probably have to fast forward to today.
Okay.
Heavily involved in Saudi Arabia and India at the moment. Mostly where it concerns firearms and ammunition and the ability to supply the United States, both the domestic and military as well. So it's a complex operation.
That is.
I don't want to upstage the king of Saudi Arabia, so I'll let him make his own announcements. But we should be becoming very visible, at least on the Olympic side. We have a project that's called Olympic, but we are building the finest Olympic type or shooting facility, resort facility on Earth. Budget about $1 billion.
Wow.
You know, it'll be more than $1 billion, but for Saudi it's $1 billion. Yes.
So let's jump in. This is a war story. So let's jump to Vietnam. And there was a battle at the bridge against the 7th VC Battalion, which you were involved in. Can you just walk us through that?
Yeah. Well, I didn't think that much of it at the time. I was not really aware of who, nor was I aware of how many. It came about by accident because no one really knew anything about it. And the reason being is I was the only military person that was engaged. You know, we learned today that there's somewhere between probably 650 and 700 there. Because they were firing mortars at the 2 destroyers that were assisting me, which is probably ahead of your question, that makes the strike force heavy. So heavy adds another 50 or so to the component. We did not know, or I did not know in the bloody dark, except there was a hell of a lot of people wanting to do me some damage. My orders were not to let anyone cross. I had no idea if they were friend or foe. It makes no damn difference to me. By that I mean Vietnamese. We were concerned that we, being our orders, were concerned that even the ARVN might try to flee across that bridge. There was no one allowed to cross that bridge, including myself. So to protect it, where we were not authorized to be on the north side, they sent me, to ensure or give an alarm that the bridge is under attack or being, someone was attempting to cross it, etc. When we were hit in the dark by a large force. That force became apparent when we got naval illumination on the battlefield. To give you an idea, there were no trees, there were no buildings, there were no obstructions anywhere in view for probably 2 miles.
Mm-hmm.
The enemy was engaging. I did not know exactly how many until I was standing immense in the middle of a rather large sum of dead. By that point, they were retiring, and I was following their battalion, as it turned out to be, applying all the naval gunfire that I could on that retiring element until they were destroyed.
So, what was your position at the time? Were you a Marine rifleman, or what was your I don't know what they call it in the Marine Corps, MOS, or what was your job?
Well, I was a Marine Corps squad, a machine gun squad leader. I had two machine gun two machine gun teams. However, in the Marine Corps, we generally don't have what are called forward observers or FOs. Unknown to me, we actually did have one who stayed with the company commander all the time. I never personally saw him. I communicate with him every day. By that I mean he actually sends me a prayer every day. So I appreciate that. So they would send, the Marine Corps would send someone that they felt capable, perhaps, to map and aero photo school. I was kind of disappointed in it. I wanted to go to NCO school somewhere else. I didn't see the need for sending me there. However, I think we can say now with some authority, the reason why Lieutenant Reeder sent me on the other side of the bridge is, first of all, I was not necessarily needed where all of his men were, including Sergeant Dempsey, who was the platoon sergeant. But I was the most capable. And excuse me, I was the only jungle instructor in the unit.
Yeah.
You know, so I was not exactly a funny person.
Right.
I was pretty heavy.
Right.
So they sent me over there, and I understand it today. I mean, it's fairly uncomplicated.
And so why were they trying to cross the bridge? What were you trying to protect at that point?
Well, what we know now, and personally, I did not know anything other than I was not given any information. When we discovered, and I think it was maybe 2018, maybe isn't that late, discussing the matter with Lieutenant Reeder, who was a second lieutenant and in charge at the bridge. Did he tell me that that Colonel Wheeler, our regimental commander at the time, General Wheeler, but at the time, had driven to the bridge to tell him that you know, basically, don't lose this bridge. Beyond that conversation, I was not aware of any of it other than my normal piece of business. By the way, which is interesting because what it says when you go on a patrol or something of that nature, and you're in command of it, whatever that is, they will tell you you've got at your disposal, you have artillery, or you have the Marine Corps Air Wing, you have naval gunfire, you have this, that, and the other, and so forth. It's a matter of just routine. I take it personally. Okay. So when you tell me you have artillery, I want it. And when I call for it, you better give it to me. So in this case, you know, I didn't feel it odd, you know, to call for any person on this net and call to Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. That means everyone who can hear me must pay attention. So in any case, I was not aware of but the name of the battalion. I had no idea, you know, anything more than that, other than we had a very, very serious problem. Once I got illumination, I knew I was in trouble. I'd probably killed 15 or 20 people by then already, which is interesting in itself. But once I got illumination,
You saw them coming.
see them.
Yeah.
My God, there were so many of them.
Yeah.
And they were they were formed in a manner of march. This is, I've never seen anything like this at all. Never since. I mean, I've done in quite a few people in Vietnam, but I've never seen anything. I've never seen men attack in threes. I have not seen this kind of professional activity myself.
Yeah. So you're on one side of the bridge, and then you got a battalion on the other side once you got the illumination, and you called in a lot of naval assets and artillery or whatever. But who did you have on your side of the bridge? What kind of resources on the ground did you have?
None. I had an Arvin Sergeant T. I had met him earlier. I had actually met the battalion commander, so-called battalion commander of Arvin. He was a school teacher. I don't recall his name, however. But the man on charge of Arvin on that side of the bridge was Sergeant T. I do not know how many Arvins were over there. We had to dispatch one, and that was our first indication we had trouble when we discovered either a VC sympathizer or a VC, in fact, who was transmitting on our communication line to enemy forces.
Wow.
That was an indication to me we have ourselves a problem.
Yeah. So what kind of naval gunfire did you call in? I mean, what did you, is this just, it wasn't the, battleship types, it was different, right?
Well, I tell you the truth, I had no earthly idea at the time, but because look, it's dark, right?
Yeah, sure.
At the time, it was raining heavily on me. It cleared, and that's fine. But what happened is, I had a radio in absolute darkness that was still functional, with no ability to see anything, channels, nothing. Quite frankly, pardon me, I had no idea that our frequency at our company was 50 on the station, right? So I started transmitting up and down the scale. Once our communications were lost to our side, immediately I started communicating, trying to get in touch with someone, either our unit on the other side, battalion, I didn't care who. So someone came up on the net very loud, and that, as it turned out, was division. They did not identify themselves. They were trying to identify or satisfy themselves as to who I was and what the situation was and exactly where I was. And I gave them that information, etc. They didn't tell me what, if anything, they were sending. But I can't remember if I think they came up on the net after I went to Mayday calls. But in any case, I was very, very busy, and I would try to communicate with them grid coordinates on machine gun positions that were firing and where they were, et cetera, taking azimuth, et cetera, on that. And but beyond that, they just acknowledged. Now, all of a sudden, a ship shows up in the dark, and its call sign was assassin, and it requested my fire missions. So we got busy instantly. Now, I did not know that another ship came in later, and I thought when they were both firing at the same time, we had what? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guns firing constantly.
Wow.
I mean, not broadside. Well, yes. I mean, they were just constantly firing. I would give an order for illumination and this and the other and so forth. They would fire that. We would change to white phosphorus so I could determine the depth of field. You have flashes. We were shooting VT, HEVT, or fuse quick, as they say in the Navy. Okay, that's fine, but it's a blinding situation. There's concussion involved. I need something stable. I need white phosphorus so I can get my depth perception and identify the targets correctly. So it's a work. It's, you know, you're working. You know,
And
when they were firing, hell, with that many guns, I thought this thing was a freaking cruiser out there. I mean, really. That you can't imagine what we're talking about here. When somebody's firing over your shoulder, almost flat trajectory on your location that's within 300 yards of you, it is a religious experience. You're getting concussion straight out of the ship. You're getting concussion from the ammunition going off. I mean, it's a constant battering. It is bad.
Yeah,
you better be far from 5-inch 34s because let me tell you, you know, people don't understand. With this enemy in the open, with fuse quick over you, the concussion, you don't have to be hit by anything. It eviscerates you.
Yeah.
People have no conception of what this business is. It's very, very
brutal. Yeah.
Brutal.
So were you in a foxhole, or did you have any kind of protection, or were you behind the bridge, or what
Well,
were you?
we were in a bunker when we started, an old French bunker where this other BC was dispatched, and we came outside so I can see. You're in a box in a bunker. I have no interest in it. Okay. So we can't maneuver. I can't assess. I can't. So once we got out of the bunker and started receiving fire, we maneuvered probably at the first. I probably moved maybe 30 yards to the right. Then when I could see that they were aggressing that bunker, there were a lot of ricochets coming off of it. They must have thought we were there, et cetera, et cetera. Then we had to move. So I moved about 100 yards up the beach on their flank. So now I've got them in a position of penetrating fire on them. And we're at back, our backs were literally at the water, and the dunes just right up the beach. They didn't know exactly where I was, and when I opened up on them this close, because I called it right on, essentially right on that juncture of the bridge. The concussion, well, it would have killed me if I'd been in the same location for certain. I mean, I wouldn't be here.
It's gonna be a good day. Morning, baby. Shipping beef this Monday. We do have a little bit left available here. Check us out, familyfarmbeefbox.com. Thanks. Have a good day.
Yeah.
So the concussion alone was a disaster, and I was concerned to be overrun. I called a position marked location on my 6, which essentially means if I'm dispatched, they will fire on my position until we're, you know, so.
So I think you said you ended up, what, 500-600 of them killed, or maybe more?
Yeah, there's probably, by number, we're at 700, but safely we could say 6, but this, by the way, as we've learned later, the 7th, right? The 7th was a strike force. Now, that means nothing to anyone. It's the only one I've ever heard of in my experience in 1965, by the way. What it means is all of these guys carried fully automatic weapons. No bolt actions, nothing stupid, nothing funny. We're talking about a total wipeout assault strike force. They're running light and mean. Okay, and now later I recovered a document that shows their mission. That document was not recorded at Texas University in their archives. I have never seen it before. I have not been able to recover the source of it since. I recovered it while researching Admiral Fat. General Fat was actually the commander and so forth and so on there of BC forces. You click on something to be translated from Vietnamese, right? And it sends you to another area. And so fortunately, I came upon this U.S. intelligence document and printed it. Had I not printed it, I've never been able to find it again.
Yeah.
So bottom line is it says that they plan to attack the Da Nang airfield. They expected to lose at least 5,000 men, that they would kill every living thing. So we know what that's all about. Now, what we know now is real interesting because it's not documented today. There was 3 people there, right, at this time that were all commanders at Dien Bien Phu.
So it was a revenge kind of thing.
Yes, General Fat. He was battalion commander. General 2 was a battalion commander. General Dung, 4 stars, was the chief of staff at Dien Bien Phu. Now, wait a second. What in the hell are all of these bad boys doing around these couple of battalions of Marines? They are there for a slaughter.
This was in 65?
Yes, sir.
So it was right at the beginning of the war. And so was this, when was Hal Moore's airborne stuff or air assault stuff near them?
I think it was about the same time in, I think maybe his is in June. I need to check.
So you were running up against the same people that had experience against the French. And so that's interesting.
Well, here's one other thing. This whole thing of finding out about this battle was an accident. Actually, Bill Scott was part of the accident.
Who introduced me to you? He was a reporter for the aviation. We called it Aviation Leak, but Aviation Week and Space Technology.
Yeah, I mean, he was Bill was actually standing there. Sergeant Davis had a copy of my book, The Warriors, United States Marines, talking to some people, right? And Bill looks over and says, well, what's that? It's this. And it's about they had it open to a battle, the Cotty River Bridge, and said, nobody knows anything about it. A lot of people killed or whatever. And it got his attention. The second one was even a larger coincidence. Our Marines had never seen each other. We were split up to the many wins in Vietnam. A big mistake. But in any case, we're at reunion. Okay. And pretty much everybody, I guess, has a copy of my book, but my book was laying on the table and there were 2 people there. One, a sergeant or a first sergeant retired, Howard, and another woman was standing with him. She is also a retired first sergeant in the Army, and her father was on that bridge. They had the book open, okay, and it was on the Cotty River Bridge. So I came to the table and small conversation. I said, yeah, and by the way, Marnique, your father, Private Brown, was on the bridge this day. But we don't know, nobody knows anything about this battle. And she says, when did this happen? and I gave her the date, 29th July, et cetera, and spoke to Howard, the other gentleman that was there. And meanwhile, she's on her laptop, and within, I would give it a minute, but within 3 minutes, she says, "Is this it?"
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and what she pulled up was the actual records that were unavailable to me from period.
Really?
Oh,
Wow.
Navy did not, no one. I sent photography in 1980. After action photography in the daylight, held from a 3-story building, a railroad building, took a picture of the ship in the bay, right? Because I expected to be totally debriefed.
Mm-hmm.
No one pulls the trigger on a destroyer or anything else in the dark over a population without God knowing your name.
Yeah.
Well, no one ever called me. Okay.
So this was what you're saying is this was blacked out. I mean, they didn't want anybody to know about it. Yeah.
The piece that she actually pulled is probably the only piece that these people didn't hide. Because,
and why were they hiding it, Carl?
Well, I don't have any idea. To me, I never paid any attention. General Green was commandant of the Marine Corps. I mean, General Green actually physically knew who I was. General Green, as he related it to me, talked to Nguyen Cao Key, who actually knows me as well. Okay. And so he got a big hoorah out of this. General Key called him and said, boy, that was outstanding in defense of the bridge and I'd like to congratulate that officer that was in charge or whatever. This fine naval, and General Green said that was.
The bird flu is circulating. We're getting more and more press, more fear mongering, more warnings about this. First, let's start with that. What say you on?
Well, what I say is it specifically is not circulating. It's in animals. There's one human, maybe 2 transmissions, no human-to-human transmission. And stand by, everybody. If there is some sort of sudden human-to-human transmission, you should immediately be suspicious that gain of function was involved with that. Just the fact that they're taking an animal virus and going nuts on it in the press and talking about it all the time, that to me leads me to believe that they have concerns that somebody is doing something with that virus, because this would not happen naturally, in my opinion.
Our world is changing rapidly. Many crucial systems we depend upon are collapsing. And the most important system that is failing is the food supply.
Mr. President, this Council is more than aware of the multiple challenges and threats the world is facing today. But the threat of famine, people starving slowly to death, must be a red line.
These food prices are going to keep going up, and they're going to keep feeding excuse after excuse, narrative after narrative.
Yeah,
you're going to have to get off that treadmill and start getting more autonomous with your own food growing.
You want to make sure that you can eat, because frankly, food is the biggest issue as we are going through these transitions.
But amidst the chaos, there is a path to resilience. Marjorie Wildcraft is the female leader of the survival and preparedness movement. Marjorie has taught millions of people how to grow an abundance of food in a grid-down situation, even if you have no experience, are older, or out of shape.
I've spent decades finding the fastest, easiest, and funnest ways for the average person to be able to grow a lot of food. I've created a step-by-step process that's so simple that even kids to elders have been using it in order to grow a lot of their own food. And you can too, even if you have no experience, you're older, or you're out of shape.
Growing your own food is like printing your own money. Get started today.
Welcome back to the SCIF. Let me get rid of that 1 second. Welcome back to the SCIF. Glad for joining us. Appreciate you joining us today. So we had BKP on this morning. We're waiting on Kim Mack Rosenberg, the General Counsel for Children's Health Defense, to join us. If she doesn't join us, we may go back to finish the interview. There she is. I'm going to bring her in now. Kim, how you doing? Thanks for coming on.
I'm doing well. How are you today?
Thank you for jumping on short notice. I know you're very busy. I wanted to find out, we're a plaintiff in the Trusted News Initiative case that CHD has handled from the beginning. And we've had some developments, but I'm curious about how the change of jurisdiction happened. It was filed in Louisiana and then went to New York, I think, and then to DC, and that's where it sits. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It's actually more complicated than that.
Okay.
It started off in Texas.
Okay.
And the defendants removed the case, and there's processes by which defendants can remove cases to other venues. They moved it to New York, which was not perceived by plaintiffs as maybe the jurisdiction we wanted to be in.
Of course.
We can voluntarily dismiss at that point, which we did, and we refiled in Louisiana. The judge in Louisiana determined that it was best venued somewhere else. So that's how we ended up in the District of Columbia, in district court. So it's been in 4 U.S. district courts over the course of the past few years. But it's been with the judge in the district court in the District of Columbia since late 2023, early 2024.
And nothing has happened. And, the attorneys on the case, I got an email that I think you guys hired to run the case, said that's normal. I mean, is it normal or is it?
There's that phrase, the wheels of justice turn slowly.
Yeah, sure.
There is some truth to that. So it is not outside the bounds of sort of normal judicial timing for a motion to sit in front of a court, even when it's fully briefed, like the motions to dismiss that the defendants filed. Those have been briefed since January of 2024 for them to be under consideration by the court. And these courts, to their defense a little bit, they are very busy. They have very heavy dockets, and particularly a court in the District of Columbia, in the District of Columbia, they have a very busy docket, with a lot of government related cases sitting in front of them. So they are busy. It's not a short period of time, and some things are decided very, very quickly, and others sit for a long time, and it's not always predictable what's going to be decided and what's going to sit. I have seen cases decided much more quickly than this, but I've also seen decisions take even longer.
Yeah. So it's obviously in the defendant's interest not to have this case move forward. They're trying to dismiss it. They've got a motion to dismiss, which hasn't been ruled on. But yesterday, tell us what happened yesterday, because there's a little bit of confusion as to what actually happened.
So a couple of days ago, actually, the United States Department of Justice filed what is essentially an intent to file a statement of interest. And so in a few weeks, they will file a statement of interest, but this gives the court a heads up that this is going to be coming from DOJ. And they are interested, obviously, as the enforcers of the laws of the United States, they are interested in enforcing, among other things, antitrust laws.
Yeah.
So they have taken literally an interest in examining what's going on in this case and our allegations as plaintiffs of the group boycott by the Trusted News Initiative. The self-labeled Trusted News Initiative, which includes some of the defendants in our case, that the government would like to step in and share its opinion, its assessment with the judge in this case. So if the judge was sitting on an opinion and ready to release it, he's probably holding it back now to wait to see that statement of interest. We don't know that that's the case at all, by the way, just to be clear. But this puts a little bit of a pin in it. The government is not going to take long to do this statement of interest, but they filed the intent to file a statement of interest, which isn't, it's a short sort of explanation of where they are. But group boycotts are of real concern to the Department of Justice, because it is, there are so many issues going on in this case, and this case is essentially, as you know, an antitrust case about the group boycott, but because it implicates free speech and the ability of, you know, journalistic outlets, yourself, CHD, others, to share information, it also implicates the ability of people to hear and obtain a variety of opinions, right? They are, you know, the name the Trusted News Initiative says a lot about the hubris with which they believe, you know, they're acting. They believe they are the trusted source. And essentially what they've done in, as we allege, putting together this group boycott through TNI is implicate free speech rights as well.
Well, it's not just a boycott, just for our audience sake. It was, I think, an attack. I mean, we lost 8 Twitter accounts, Facebook, MailChimp, Patreon, PayPal, Stripe. You know, I could go CJ Affiliate, Google AdSense, Google Ad Manager, Google AdX, all of it within a short period of time. I mean, they attacked us. So nobody can get good alternative viewpoint at that point.
Right. And you're 100% right that the term, and it's a term of art, right? It's a legal term of art, group boycott. It sounds like someone's, you know, formed a, you know, a bunch of people have formed a picket line and said, you know, don't listen to these people. But it is much more than that. It really went after the heart and soul of how outlets that share a viewpoint that is different to and maybe in conflict with the trusted initiative narrative and the government prevailing narrative at that point, the efforts that they took to really disable the ability of those of us who had alternative viewpoints or different viewpoints from sharing that information and being able to even fund our work.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know who's on this at DOJ? Is there a person connected to this, an attorney, or is it just kind of nebulous at this point?
DOJ has an antitrust division, so folks in their antitrust division, I assume, will be looking at it.
Got it. And I know that this lawsuit just goes over after the news companies, but the tech companies were involved in this too, right? And it was a strategic decision just to sue the large news. I think it's AP, Reuters, BBC, and WAPO. Are those defendants?
Yes, and I frankly I wasn't at CHD when this all first started, but yes, so the Trusted News Initiative (TNI) itself is much larger than just the defendants in this case,
right?
And it does include some of the big social media platforms. It includes, you know, Google is, I think, part of TNI. There are also newspapers from a whole lot of different places around, both online and print, from around the world who were involved in TNI. It's a pretty big web when you start to dig into it. You know, if listeners want to go online and look, you know, and they Google Trusted News Initiative, they will be able to see just how many organizations were involved.
So does that, I've always been curious, does that include NewsGuard? Are they part of the TNI, or is that a separate issue?
You know, I'm not sure, because I don't know off the top of my head all of the organizations. There are a lot of them.
Yeah, and then the State Department was, it was shown that they had their own global news network that they were funding, essentially, I think through USAID. I forget the name of it, but
you know, there's been a lot of, and you know, this goes to some other cases that CHD is involved in. We have a case that was formerly known as Kennedy against Biden. Obviously, there's been a change of administration, and CHD is still a plaintiff in that case, where we have allegations of, you know, government collusion and coercion of social media platforms to deplatform Children's Health Defense and other individuals and entities. And that case was consolidated with the case that went up to the Supreme Court last year, Murphy against Missouri. And a lot of discovery came out of that case and came out of Representative Jim Jordan's subcommittee and the Judicial Committee and some subcommittees of that, concerning, you know, evidence showing back and forth between, for example, Facebook and the government, and the pressure put on the government because they have that, you know, tremendous hammer of Section 230, and the pressure they put on. And Mark Zuckerberg has made statements about having felt pressured by the government. Unfortunately, yesterday we got a decision from the Supreme Court not to take another CHD case, CHD against Meta platforms, to not hear that case next year, which is disappointing. The case was interesting because it was filed, and it covers issues broader than just COVID related censorship. And it was filed, I believe, pre-COVID. And or right at the very beginning of COVID, before a lot of the censorship that's directly COVID related took place. But that case was filed with a very, very expansive complaint. It was dismissed by the district court in Northern California. It went up to the Ninth Circuit, where the Ninth Circuit upheld the dismissal. But this was a case, again, that sat for, I think that it sat for almost 2 years, if not over, before we got a decision from the Ninth Circuit. So again, the wheels of justice are turning slowly. But during that time that it was sitting with the court, we filed what are called motions to take judicial notice. And that's literally where you say to the court, hey, you need to pay attention
to
this. So we felt, firmly believed that we had plenty of evidence. We should not have been dismissed. Our complaint was more than sufficient as it was. But over time, while that case was sitting with the Ninth Circuit, all of this information was coming out of Missouri v. Biden and coming out of Jim Jordan's committees. And so we would send packets essentially with a motion to the court saying, hey, you should pay attention to this too. And when the Ninth Circuit issued their decision, they really didn't. And we had one judge who dissented in part, who essentially said, we need to look at this. We just can't put on blinders and ignore this evidence, because you're operating the majority. You're operating in this world where you're ignoring what's happened subsequently, which really does impact the outcome, or could impact the outcome here. And certainly at a minimum, and this is what we always argued, it doesn't change our complaint. Our complaint is solid as it is. It should withstand a motion to dismiss. But this reinforces what we've alleged in our complaint is happening. This just shows you more evidence of what's going on. So we took that up on a petition for writ of certiorari to the U.S. Supreme Court. And unfortunately, it was conference last week, and the list of cases they're taking and not taking came out yesterday, and they had denied, as they do, unfortunately, there's only so many hours in the day, I guess, at the Supreme Court. They take very few cases on petitions for writs of certiorari. So the list of cases it's a small percentage of cases they take.
So is that done, or can it be? Is it still working its way through the courts, or what?
No, that's done. And that doesn't mean we're done fighting that battle, but that case is done.
Are there other cases in the works that could address some of those issues that you know of?
So we're we and other people are always looking at other cases to see what we can do, because we remain deplatformed on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, and we're on X, which is great, and X has been a great outlet for us, but there are other outlets that other people use. And you want to reach young people, you go on TikTok. I always feel old when I say that. You want to reach young people, you go on TikTok. So we want to be able to reach audiences,
as you should be. I mean, even Google or YouTube now we got a strike the other day because we had somebody, I think from, actually it's from the wellness company, one of the docs, who was talking about vaccines, and they said, no, you can't talk about that. So, I mean, that's antitrust behavior, in my opinion. So anyway,
it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with the Department of Justice now filing the statement of interest. And I know you are, and I am, and I think the other plaintiffs really, looking forward to seeing what it is that they file in a couple of weeks.
Wow. Thank you, Kim. Anything else you want to get out?
No, I think that's it. I appreciate you taking the time to have me on today.
Sure. And that's childrenshealthdefense.com, right? Is that the website?
childrenshealthdefense.org.
.org. Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I'll have you back if more changes. Take care.
Great. Bye-bye.
That's it for our show today. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. We're Monday through Friday, 10 to noon Eastern for the SCIF. Please support our sponsors, the precious metals, the direct book sales on our book site or website, the wellness company, I forgot to mention cdmfood.com with Marjorie Wildcraft. If you want to be more self-reliant, check out her products. Go to cdmfood.com, spend some time on her website. She has a lot of free content. Check that out. And if you're into growing, buy her subscriptions because it's really, really high-end product, what she does there. It's called the Grow Network, and it's fantastic. So we'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Thank you.